As I get more and more into watch collecting and the watch community, a couple of things are happening. Firstly, my collection is growing. I'm trying to keep it at a reasonable number, but it is definitely a lot larger than it was a bunch of years ago. But also, I'm being more involved in the watch community, in the real world watch community, going to watch events, meeting people that I know who also love watches. So I like taking watches with me. And because I have more watches in my collection now, and I tend to then travel more with more watches, there's something that has been missing. Something that has been missing for me to utilize this sort of part of my watch world. And that is a proper case to take with me that keeps the watches safe, but also does something else for me. Hello, you're watching James. My name is James, you're watching me, and I am talking about watches. And I'm talking about a nice solid case that I picked up off Aliexpress. And it's relatively affordable because I've looked at these sort of Pelican hard case watch cases before, and they're not generally particularly cheap. Even the cheaper ones online aren't particularly cheap, which is why I decided to have a look at Aliexpress. And primarily, I wanted to buy one of these because I am going to meet friends with watches and I want them to be in a safe case. And I've got some great watch cases, but I kind of like the idea of a nice solid little briefcase. But there's another reason why I wanted one of these. And it's because when I do go traveling, or if I'm away from the house for more than a short time, more than a day or two, I do like to store my watches away. Tuck them somewhere safe in the house, at a friend's house, or put them away at my workplace where they are 100% safe. And to do so, I need to take them out of my normal watch box. And at the moment, prior to buying this thing off AliExpress, I was cobbling them together in all sorts of different containers. And I think this is a bit of a solution for me because I can put it into this briefcase thing and then tuck it away somewhere where it is safe. It is nice to be able to put them somewhere and be away from the house and feel confident that the watches are safe. But primarily, of course, it's for me to take them traveling. And it is also primarily wanting them to be safe whilst traveling and also to not spend too much money on that case. So I bought this one in a recent sale on AliExpress. The sale amount really only saved me a couple of dollars, but the prices do depend a little bit on the size because you can get a 6 slot or a 10 slot or a 15 slot case, and they range from around about $40 up until about $60. And I want to show you this one in a little bit more detail because if you're thinking about buying a case, I think this is worth considering because I took my time to find the right one for me and not spend too much money. But of course, when you're not spending too much money and you're buying off AliExpress, it doesn't guarantee it's going to be a great product, but I've been pretty impressed. So let me show you this one in a little bit more detail. So I'm going to do my best to fit this inside the scope of my light box. So I hope you sort of can see it enough. So first of all, the first thing that worried me a little bit was the strength of it. And I can tell you, it is extremely firm. In fact, I would be confident to put all the watches inside and then stand on top of it. That's how firm this one is. The next thing that I would be worried about is the latches themselves. 2 latches as you would expect. They sit nicely, they hold on nicely, and it does have a firm click. I'm confident that they would be fine. If, however, I was taking this traveling or maybe walking through an airport or something, which is what I'm planning to do with this one, I'd still feel confident with this, but I'd probably back it up a little bit by using these holes here. They run through both parts of the case, and it would be quite easy just to then wrap something through there, put a zip tie, put a piece of string, or even put a padlock on if you wanted, just to give you that added little bit of confidence that there's no way that this would then come apart. The handle is nice and secure. I'm completely confident with that. Certainly would not expect that to come off or be a concern for me. There's a nice long hinge on the back. You know, you can see now I'm sort of trying to point out everything that might be a concern if you're going to buy one of these. That does feel nice and secure, and I feel confident in that holding together as well. Well, quick break just to ask you guys, if you haven't done so already, would you mind just hitting that subscribe button? Thanks. Let's get back to this travel case. It does have one of these little air vents, which I personally wouldn't be using or needed to use, but I guess it's just following the style of this type of case. But one of the things that I do like about this one, when you open it up, is that there is a lot of foam in here. Nice, generous amount of foam there. The foam sort of sides here are glued in, so they're not moving. I'll talk about them shortly, but there's a lot of foam underneath as well, which means when you close it, it's actually touching on the foam. So you actually have to squish down a tiny bit to lock, which means when you've got watches sitting in there, as you close, it's going to trap the watches in amongst that generous amount of foam, and then they won't move, which is definitely something that I was hoping that would happen, because I don't want the watches moving in there, especially if I've got lots of watches. I don't want them touching each other. So when they're in there and then they get trapped and squished just a little bit into this nice soft foam, I feel confident that if I use this, that my watches would be safe. The little foam cushions are on a little bit of an angle, so when they sit, they actually sit up slightly just to show you the watch. Now, these are my 3 largest watches in my collection, around about 44 to 43 millimeters in case diameter, so that you can see that there is still gaps between them. I feel quite confident that they wouldn't touch, especially, as I mentioned, when you then sort of lock it into place like that. However, I think if I was going to go traveling with these ones in this case, which I am going to do, I'd probably offset them a little bit with a smaller watch in between, just to give it even that extra little bit of movement. But I know when you're looking at adverts of this or listings of cases like this, this is something that is rarely shown, or at least you don't feel completely confident about, is putting big watches. Is it going to fit them? Is it going to be comfortable? Are you going to be secure and safe in having them in there? I certainly feel that way. I'm really impressed with this case. I'm so glad I ended up buying it. I was looking everywhere for one, but they just felt a little bit too expensive. I didn't want to be spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars on one of these, but I also didn't want to buy a really cheap one that then was a waste of money and then didn't keep all my watches safe, because, well, there's a lot of money in watches and they're going to be in here, so I do want something secure. And I think I've found the perfect one. In fact, I like it so much, I might end up buying another one or two to use when I am away and I'm just storing them somewhere safe. Guys, thank you so much for watching that. I really wanted to bring this one to your attention because, well, it's important to me and it might be important to you guys. But whilst you think about buying one of these or not buying one of these, maybe you can watch one of my other videos.